Welcome to Get to the Hook. I am your co-host, Charles Latibaudiere.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Colley.
And we are coming to you from Los Angeles, as we always do. But obviously, we want to take some time, actually, not just some time, but we're gonna talk a lot about what's going on here in Los Angeles. I'd love to be able to say after the fires, but as we speak right now, as we're recording this, the fires are still going on.
Could get worse again,
and
if
could
the
get
winds
worse.
come back.
Winds are coming back, and that is obviously the most important thing that people are dealing with right now in LA. There are already some efforts to help people rebuild, and that is going to be, a years-long struggle for this city. And it's hard to. I want to try to explain to you guys being in LA right now, where obviously people are still, unless you're right by the fires, people are going to work. They're doing everyday things, but it doesn't feel...
It's so bizarre here. We have coworkers, friends here who've lost their homes, who've lost everything, and parts of the city are just completely gone.
Yeah.
And then other parts are completely normal. Nothing is happening.
Completely untouched. And it's what happens when you live in a metropolitan area that is as spread out as Los Angeles is, that you can have horrible things happening in one section of the city, and another section it's completely idyllic. But even in the idyllic parts of the city, it's still weighing on everybody's minds and everybody's hearts of what's going on, because everybody, regardless of where you live in LA, you know someone who is directly impacted by this.
And you can smell the smoke, you can see it depending on where you are.
Yep.
It's just kind of this omnipresent thing. And it's weighing on everybody's mind. Everyone has their go bags packed and ready to go, just in case.
Yeah,
because you never know. It's been a surreal,
really
week.
surreal.
And there are fires here all the time, and I'm not diminishing those, but This one is so huge.
Right, we haven't had fires where you've had two whole communities wiped off the map.
Right.
So
for perspective for people, and maybe this has gone around, people have seen it on the internet. The Palisades fire, which is the biggest of them, has destroyed an area larger than Manhattan. The entire island. So imagine if the entire island of Manhattan was completely burning out of control.
Right. That's one of the fires.
And that's one of them.
One of 4 or 5, depending on what's happening right now, fires that are burning around LA County. And now even Ventura County has a fire also. Anyway, how does all this relate to music? Because that's what we're here to talk about. And music, as often is the case, is what kind of helps us begin to heal. It also is what helps bring people together to raise money to help with the recovery effort, and that is going to happen. So we're going to talk about that, and also the fact that this disaster has impacted some artists in how they move forward with concerts, with
albums,
perhaps albums. Yeah. Everybody's hitting the pause button right now, and some huge names. That, can't, it's impossible to avoid what's going on. And some of these people live here in LA, and so they know it that way. And others just work here a lot. They come here a lot. And so everyone is being respectful of what's going on here. Right. Perhaps the biggest name, I guess, would be Beyonce.
Right. She has her Be Good Foundation. They're donating $2.5 million to the efforts, and will probably be more at some point. Also, and I kind of forgot about this and all the craziness of the last few weeks, because also isn't it weird that the terrorist attack in New Orleans, the Cybertruck explosion in Vegas, this has all been two weeks.
But this is all exactly.
2025 is off to a start, man. But remember Christmas Day when Beyonce did the halftime show at the Chiefs game? She teased that there was going to be an announcement on January 14th.
Yeah, everyone was expecting it.
It's probably going to be a tour. They have now pushed that, which also makes people think it's going to be a tour. The announcement. Yeah. Also, people think it's going to be a tour because if they were going to announce a tour and put up tickets for sale, that would have affected people being able to buy it, and you don't want to do that right now.
Right.
So whatever the announcement was, at some point it's going to happen. We don't know. But right now she's focused on donating money through her foundation. The Weeknd.
Yeah.
He was supposed to have a concert January 25th at the Rose Bowl, which has been affected by the fires. That's one of the evacuation areas.
Exactly. They're actually an evacuation area. Right. It's also a staging area for the fire departments, first responders. So
Yeah, his concert, and that concert on the 25th was supposed to be the day after his new album Hurry Up Tomorrow came out on the 24th. So he's canceled the show. He's bumped the album back a week to January 31st because he still wants to do the show with it. That might get pushed again depending on what happens in the next few days.
And one of the big things that, right after that concert was supposed to be the Grammys, which as of now, as we speak, are still scheduled to happen on February 1st in downtown LA.
I think the 2nd.
You're right. February 2nd in downtown LA at crypto.com arena. And the Grammy organizers have said, look, they're planning to go forward with this and that they want it to be an effort that's going to help raise money for the recovery effort. So I'm sure when you watch the Grammys, there'll be plugs for that. There'll be, ways that you can donate.
Right. And it's also slightly convenient to keep the Grammys to have, if the artists are going to be here, because the big thing that's happening is the Fire Aid benefit concert.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be happening January 30th, which is just a few days before the Grammys. So you're going to have a lot of the biggest artists in the world already in town. Which
is why I'm sure, and the organizers of this are Irving and Shelley Azoff, and I'm sure they are clearly aware that that's what makes that weekend. So the 30th is a Thursday night, right?
I think so.
I believe it's a Thursday night. So that's,
yes.
Everyone is coming to town to get ready for the Grammys. The dress rehearsals are always those 2 days, or not dress rehearsals, just the sound checks. They do it those 2 days before the Grammys. So everyone's in town, and I'm sure they realize that they're going to get a lot of people who want to do something.
And Irving Azoff, if you don't know, is a legend in the industry. He's with
manager,
running labels, managers. I remember him in the 90s. He had his own label, Giant Records, which was the home of Color Me Bad.
Yeah,
and I love Color Me Bad. I'm not going to lie about that. So he had a lot of artists I liked on that label. But he's had connections in this industry going back 50 years. Or so.
Yeah,
exactly. He's a legend in the industry. But
so that's going to be the 30th at Intuit Dome, and it's going to be a special night, I'm sure. And you're going to see what we've been feeling here in LA. This is the other thing, and not to, again, we want to kind of stick to music here, but we're experiencing this, that one of the things that people always say about LA, it's like, it's so spread out. There's no community. Like, you have your area that you live in, and that's it. It really has felt like more of a community, and that you have people from all over the city trying to help.
Because everyone's
lining
affected.
up, waiting in line.
Right.
People always try to avoid traffic in this town, but certainly this past weekend, I mean, we had people waiting in lines just to be able to drop off things to help with the relief effort. So.
And a lot of places, and don't use this as an excuse not to donate, but some places have said, like, we're full.
They're full.
A few places, I know,
and certain items,
yeah. But that, and again, I'm not saying that to discourage people from donating, but it's nice that people have come out so much that they've had all these donations. They've had people volunteering for things, and like, we're actually kind of good at this one place for this one thing right now.
Yeah, it has been really special, and I think January 30th, when they have the concert, it is going to be pretty amazing also. So that's the news of what's going on right now. We were just over the weekend thinking about everything that's going on here in LA, and I know for both of us, both Eric and myself, we are transplants here, like
as most people.
As most people, isn't it great when you meet someone who's like born and raised here? You're like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
look at you. I want to talk to you.
That's the funny. It's always that like icebreaker conversation when you meet somebody here. It's like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, LA. It's like, no, but like, where are you originally from? They're like, oh, LA. I'm like, wow, it's like seeing a unicorn or something.
Exactly. And so we were just feeling, like we said, this sense of community here. And I guess what we're going to do here is sort of a musical postcard to Los Angeles. And I think to run down some of the things that some of the artists and the songs that have that paint a picture of Los Angeles for you, even before you move here. And then when you're here, it's really cool because you're
definitely.
like, oh yeah, I know that from that song.
And not like, we've done our musical maps episodes, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to get into the whole history of music in LA.
And the artists and all that, yeah.
I mean, it's the second biggest city in the country, one of the biggest cities in the world. There's so many different pockets of music here. There's so many artists. I was thinking that their whole catalog is basically just songs about Southern California. The Beach Boys, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Sublime, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, even the Eagles, kind of, who are an LA band. Their songs are just kind of different snapshots of what living here is like.
Right.
The good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not playing. By the way, I'm not going to play Randy Newman's "I Love L.A." Just
Yeah, sorry. That's just too,
I just couldn't
too on
do
the
it.
nose. We're not going to do it. We
Yeah,
know
not
you all
doing that
know
one.
it, and that's fine. It's great. And I got to be honest, like when I moved here, I hated that song. It's kind of grown on me a little bit. I
It's
don't
a
know
catchy
why.
song.
It's taken 30 years, but it's kind of grown on me a little
And
bit.
I was reading about that song. Randy Newman was asked, a lot of his songs, especially then before he became the Pixar guy, like Short People and songs like that, are sort of sarcastic, sort of
I hated that song.
ironic songs.
Because I was the short kid. But
Oh, that's so sad. But he, the things about that song are kind of mocking LA and the shallow and vapid image that a lot of people have of it. And he was asked in an interview one time, is it sincere or is it ironic and mocking? And he's like, yes. Because he was like, because there's the part of the song about having your top down on your convertible with the hot redhead and the nice weather, which sounds so shallow. He goes, but also that's nice.
Yeah, all those things are nice.
Those things are nice. I was telling you before I moved here, or when I moved here, driving around, like trying to get used to the area and the city and stuff. So many songs were popping in my head because I knew not just L.A. or certain cities or towns. I knew streets.
Right.
How often do you know streets in a town you don't live in?
It's
just
very,
from pop music.
Yeah, it's very rare. The only one that I can think of, and there are more of them in LA, which we're going to get to in a second.
Right.
The only one that comes to mind for me is Walking in Memphis.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I went to
Street.
Memphis, and literally you're like, take a tour where you could follow along with the song, but LA has tons of those songs.
And Beale Street is
they're
like
big
a
hits.
really iconic. Some of these are just random streets. Like one, and to this day, I used to have a dentist on the street, and every time I'd go to the dentist, this song would be in my head, and I'd have to listen to it.
Why don't you have that dentist anymore? What happened?
I got one closer. It's very far away.
So you broke up with your dentist?
Yeah. I really told them that. Just kind of started going to another one.
Controversial. That's controversial. I don't know. I'm loyal.
I still kind of get texts sometimes. I'm like, hey, it's been like 2 years. I'm like, yeah, I'm not coming back. But this song about the Valley, which people, if you don't know, people hear about Valley Girls and all that. Also, that song by Frank Zappa. It's North Hollywood. It's where Burbank is. It's the other side of the Hollywood Hills where the Hollywood sign is. It's like if you ever see a picture of the Hollywood sign, the back of that mountain,
right,
basically behind the Hollywood sign is North Hollywood. And this song, this is Ventura Boulevard to me. This is Tom Petty, Free Fallin'.
All the vampires walking through the valley move west down Ventura Boulevard.
Because also it hits the backing vocals on just that part.
Yes.
Like it's just Tom by himself and then Ventura Boulevard.
And when you move here and then suddenly you're driving, you're like, oh my God, I'm on Ventura
Boulevard. Or just seeing signs for it, that song is in my head.
Right. And Ventura Boulevard is a very long street. So
very long. It runs all the way through the valley.
It really does go all the way west.
Yeah.
But it's, there's that one. And there are other things about that song. It talks about Mulholland.
Reseda.
And Reseda and all those
And I have
places.
no idea what any of those places are. Then you move here and people make jokes about these places. They're like, oh, Reseda. I have no idea any about that. That's a place in California.
Right.
Just sounds cool.
But the people who live here attach all sorts of things to it. But
it's just
a cool
codes,
song.
and that's why Beverly Hills 90210 was a big show. I knew that show. I didn't know anything about 90210. I don't know the zip codes in Beverly Hills. That meant nothing to me, but it's a big deal here.
Yes, it is.
Your area code on your phone,
Your
make
prefix,
or break a thing.
People judge you in LA based on your the prefix on your phone,
which is why LA has a reputation for being kind of shallow and vapid.
Yes,
but the thing I always tell people, I'm from West Virginia, which is seems like a million miles away from.
I didn't know where you're going with that when you pause and you're like, I'm from West Virginia, which is okay. This could go any number
I'm just
of
saying
ways.
It's like 2,500 miles, but it seems like a different planet.
Right.
And I'm not saying that bad about West Virginia. I'm saying when you live there, you don't come to LA. It's not easy to get here. It's expensive. People just never do. It might as well be Neptune, But the thing I always tell people, the image they have of LA, if it's that kind of negative image, and a lot of other places do have that, the flip side of that is that you have people from all over the country, all over the world, who, whether you're an actor or a writer or an artist or a designer or whatever creative thing it is you do, or whatever it is that you loved it enough to leave wherever you're from and move across the country, across the world to come be here to do that.
Yeah.
And that you can find that community of people. It's like, oh, you're somebody that really loves something enough to come here and pursue it.
It's the best thing about LA
It is.
that when you think about the people who are here are basically the most ambitious and talented people from every other town around the country.
Yeah, and they're the weirdos too.
When they're
And that's also, I like that.
yeah,
but,
sure. Yeah.
Because when you see a movie and people want to, and people have done this with these fires, I've seen the negative slant on it. It's like, oh no, some millionaire actor's house burned down. Boo-hoo, they can buy another one. Which one? I don't. Nobody should lose their house. Doesn't matter how much money you have.
It's still traumatic to
But
lose
if
your
you
house.
see a movie and there's 20 actors in it and there's 2 really famous actors, there are hundreds of people that made that movie. There's people that just went and got coffee for somebody, that live in the valley somewhere.
Yeah.
Their apartment building burns down, their house burns down. They have nothing and they don't have the money to just go buy another house. There's so many thousands and thousands and thousands of people affected by this that aren't rich and famous. And again, I'm not
the
saying
vast majority of them are not.
the vast majority are not.
Yeah.
And
So around the country, when you hear this and when you see this, I get this feeling that there may be people going like, I don't need to help them. Those are, rich celebrities. The vast majority of the people who are displaced from their homes are not rich, are not famous. The entire, almost all of Altadena is gone. And those are not
no, that's not a rich, famous neighborhood.
famous people. Those are, hardworking people who are going to struggle here. So, things like this, the benefit concert are going to help a lot. Anyway, we're getting off
I know
topic
we're
again.
in tangent. It's been a long week.
It's
y'all.
on our minds. It's just, and that's why we keep drifting into it. But onward with our
Other fun,
postcard.
the
Yes.
other one. So again, as I was driving around trying to find like where should I look for an apartment or a place to live, and okay, Ventura Boulevard, that's Tom Petty. I'm like, oh, this is Sheryl Crow. I knew Santa Monica Boulevard from All I Want to Do.
All I wanna do is have some fun until the sun comes up over Santa Monica Boulevard.
When you hear that song when it
First
came
major
out,
road I drove down when at
Santa
first I
Monica?
drove Wilshire,
yeah.
and then I drove Santa Monica Boulevard. But
Did you call it Wilshire
No.
when you first got here?
no, I didn't because
A lot of people do.
I would have, but I heard someone actually say it, so I didn't make that mistake.
I
Just
got
like
Wilshire, I got Santa Monica, then you hit La Cienega and Cahuenga, and you're like, I'm okay.
I heard someone. This is a really fun thing in LA when you can tell when someone's just moved to town and they don't know how to say the names of the. I heard someone go, "It's on Sepulveda."
Yeah, it's Sepulveda. Yeah.
You meant Sepulveda, and I know
meant
you just got
Sepulveda.
here. But what year did that song come out? Because
All I Want to Do, it was a hit in the summer of 94.
94.
The album came out in
Okay.
93, but the song was big in 94.
That's why I remember it was still fresh because I moved here in 95. I remember driving down Santa Monica Boulevard, and I was like, oh, here we are. We're just cruising down the road.
Waiting for the sun to come up over Santa Monica Boulevard.
Yeah, there's a thing when you move to LA, you don't know the neighborhoods. And I drove down Santa Monica Boulevard and ended up in a neighborhood called West Hollywood. I didn't know anything about West Hollywood.
That is it's called Boys Town.
Yes.
It is the gay section of West Hollywood, which it is. But it's interesting because Santa Monica Boulevard is so if you start like from the east and go towards the coast, you're going through like little like Russian shops and
you
stuff.
go
There's
through-
signs in Russian, and then you hit one street, and then the other side, it's all rainbow flags. And you're like,
Right.
what just happened?
What happened? Yeah.
Like as you go
exactly.
towards downtown, and you
You
go,
go
to, like,
through
Koreatown,
a bunch
and
of different communities if you go
so
down Santa
there's
Monica.
and then you go a couple blocks south, and you're the Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. I
Yeah.
lived there for a long time. It's these little pockets of communities, and like you said, it seems isolated. If you're in one of those, you kind of stay in that one.
Yeah.
But when they need to, they do come together.
Yes, and that's what we've been seeing. So, yeah, so Sheryl Crow, shout out Sheryl
Sheryl
Crow
Crow.
for
So-
painting that picture.
When people come visit LA, and you're driving around and showing them, doing the tours as we all do when friends come visit, what's like one of the first songs you put on? Because I know you do. You're the same as me.
Oh, I don't do it anymore. I did it like the first
Yeah.
10 years I was here.
Well, that's a pretty
Um,
significant bit of time.
Tupac.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get to that
Actually,
one.
Tupac and the Sheryl Crow.
Oh.
I've gone looking for it. Have you ever found the car wash?
I'm not sure what car wash she's talking about in that song.
I
It
mean-
might not even be a real one, honestly. Who knows? She could have just made it up.
Yeah,
But
could be.
no.
But there's definitely a car wash on Santa Monica Boulevard.
oh, there's so many car washes on
Right.
Santa Monica Boulevard, and I don't know if they were there in the '90s either when she wrote it. So
Yeah, that's true.
no, my go-to also just because I love '70s funk and R&B because it's a good mood setter, and it also when you are driving through Hollywood, even the dirtiest, grossest parts of it.
Wait, you soundtrack it for your guests when
little
they come
bit,
to town?
of course I do.
And-
Have you met me?
So you do a full. Eric's like,
Like playing
hang on,
this,
playlist.
playing that.
All right.
Getting this ready? Of course. If it's nice out, and almost always it is.
Yep.
You get the windows down, you're driving around. It's somebody who's never been here before.
Okay.
Seeing things they've seen in pictures and movies they've heard about, but you've never seen, all the different buildings and locations and the Walk of Fame and all that. I put on some Kool in the Gang,
Oh.
some Hollywood swinging.
All right. Oh, the visual for me.
What a
of you.
vibe!
No, that's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. But that seems like that's a purely a nighttime. I mean, if you're
If it's getting, that's usually when you'd go.
if you have friends your age coming in, I don't know if I'm going to do that when I'm driving mom around Hollywood.
But that song is like 50 years old.
True.
She probably used to go
Actually,
party
when
to
I
that song
first-
all the time.
The truth of the matter is, when I first moved to LA, I totally could have done that. But driving through Hollywood back then was scary.
Mid 90s. That's just a few years after the 92 riots. So
It was. She was like, "Wait, where's all the glitz and glamour?" I'm like, "It's not this part of town.
not
It's
this part.
of town."
It's all fake, like everything here.
Yeah.
Well, let's play yours. Your go-to song.
Yeah.
That was new in the mid 90s. Was the hot new jam.
Right, and so that's why when people would come, like friends from back east would come visit, the song was hot back then. I was like, "All right, we can do this. We'll throw on a little Tupac just to give them, make them feel some California love." I know what you're gonna ask. Did I drive them out to Watts? Did I drive through Compton?
And you were like,
Not necessarily.
hell no.
Not necessarily. I would point out that, look, if you go that way, that's Watts is right there. We did go. I took some people to see the Watts Towers. Definitely.
Yeah, it's historic.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
big part of American history. I wanted to play a song, and I don't know if you know this song. I threw this in here because it's so ridiculous, and I hope you've never heard this song. 1984, the year LA hosted the Olympics.
Okay.
Last time. Picture this in your head. It's 1984.
Okay.
Quincy Jones, just coming off a Thriller, just
Sure.
won a record-setting amount of Grammys in
Mhm.
84. Who was somebody that Quincy Jones used to work with early on in his career? Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. I was going to say it's either Lulu or Frank Sinatra.
It was Frank Sinatra, and Frank and Quincy hooked up to make an album, got George Benson to play guitar on it, who's one of the great guitar players ever, and recorded this song it's not bad, but it's weird. This is Frank Sinatra and L.A. is My Lady.
L.A. is my lady. She's always there for me.
Wow. I'd never heard that song.
I was hoping you hadn't.
Wait, did they do that? By the way, I said Lulu. I didn't mean Lulu. I meant
Leslie Gore.
I meant Leslie Gore.
Yeah.
Was that done for the Olympics? Because
No, it's a whole album. The rest of the album is not quite as synth and mid-'80s sounding, but still it's a slick production. It's a lot of standards. He did Mac the Knife, the first time Sinatra ever did that song. But that was the lead singer. There's one song where
I got to hear that.
there's one
I got to
song-
hear more of that song.
One of the songs he name drops Mr. T because Frank Sinatra was trying to be like, hey, cool, relevant in the 80s. And his buddy Q, just had the biggest album of all time. So it didn't quite work out the way anybody wanted it to, which is why you've never heard of it.
I've never heard that song, but I am definitely going to listen to that on the way home.
There's a video for it. I think, I'm trying to remember who's in the video. It's
Was there a bunch of
I think so.
Magic Johnson, maybe?
No. But it's Frank Sinatra trying to get some of that 80s slick, synthy, Quincy Jones sound, some George Benson rhythm guitar.
Is my lady.
See, you just heard 10 seconds of it and you already have it stuck in your head. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah. And he's
I like that.
But that's cool because Frank Sinatra was New York, New York. He is the New York guy.
Sure.
He's from Jersey. That's his part
And I'm
of
sure
the
that's
world.
why Quincy said it was like, come on, man, you did it for New York, you can do it for LA.
Yeah.
It's gonna be huge. You're gonna have bi-coastal anthems.
Didn't really
Not so
happen
much.
because
No.
you've never actually heard of that.
No.
Some songs are just a vibe for me that are specifically like Southern California centric, but also just musically when you listen to them. Like I was saying, you get the windows down, a nice day. PCH, the Pacific Coast Highway, which is one of the places devastated by these fires. Malibu has been destroyed. It's one of the most beautiful drives in the world, up the coast there. And I try and tell people, most people are either a mountain person or a beach person. I'm from West Virginia. I'm a mountain person.
Mhm.
I mean, I love the beach too. It's the only place where you get both at the same time. Where you just drive up
Yeah.
the coast, the Hollywood Hills run right up to the highway, and then it's just cliffs and beach on the other side. So you're driving between mountains and beach.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anywhere on the East Coast like that.
I've never driven it if there is.
I mean,
where
certainly
you
not
have-
Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. I know those parts better.
Yeah.
And Maine, you don't have beaches like that.
You don't have it in New York. You don't have it in Connecticut. Nowhere really.
And if you did, it'd be really cold
Northeast.
too.
Right.
No. So a song I always love to put on just when it's like a nice, one of those perfect LA days is America's song, Ventura Highway.
Ventura Highway in the sunshine where the days are longer.
That's just that early 70s
Yeah.
Runyon Canyon kind of, or that singer-songwriter era.
The funny thing, if you're a fan of that song and you come to LA and you're like, oh, I want to go on the Ventura Highway. The Ventura Highway, which is different from PCH,
Not
is where there's a lot of
Yeah.
traffic, and so
and then
you're
there's no beach, there's no wind blowing through your hair. It's
until they might be talking about when you get out of
not, no,
LA
the,
County.
The
and-
song is about
Ventura
PCH to Ventura. Yeah, that's what, and they kind of just conflated those things and put them
Right.
together in the song. Also, I just learned today looking up about it. You know the lyric in the song where he talks about alligator lizards in the air?
Yes.
That weird. I'm like, what in the world is alligator?
I just thought it was just like an LSD thing.
No, that's what I always thought. When I think his name Dewey Bunnell is the singer. Bunnell
Mhm.
wrote the song and said when he was a kid, he was on a road trip and the dad got a flat, and so he and his brother were like on the side of the road looking at clouds, making shapes, and saw alligators and lizards in the clouds, and just got that stuck in his head.
So
and
it
wrote
was an
into a
LSD
song.
thing.
No, it was just a kid. It's just a kid looking at clouds.
You don't know if the kids were on LSD or not. You don't know.
I hope not. Dear Lord. But let's go 21st century. These are all
Yeah.
old songs we're playing. That's the thing about it. The vibe here, and I hate using the word vibe. I know it's so overused, but it's true. It's, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah.
That perfect LA day, just chill.
It's the reason I've been here for 30 years.
Exactly.
I don't know. I never asked you what your origin story was coming to
Why
LA.
I moved here. I moved here for the job I currently have.
Right. Well, I moved here for a job as well, but thought I would be here 4 years, max 5 years. Then I was going back to New York.
Oh, I was in no rush to get back to. Well, actually, I didn't come from West Virginia. I was living in Orlando before I came here.
I wanted out. I definitely wanted. I got here and I was like, it's not my thing. But
Oh, no,
you
I
stay
like
here
it.
because of what you just said. It's intoxicating.
It is, and this is a funny story. Then what a newbie I was when I first came here. The first time I visited was for work for a show. I worked in Ohio. I was a camera guy, and we came here to shoot a bunch of stories. And I'd never been to LA. I'd always wanted to, because I love entertainment and stuff. And so the producer I came with, she had lived here before. She had rented a convertible, and so I'm sitting in the back of this convertible.
Everybody does it.
I know it's so
My first
cheesy.
time in California, rented
Yeah.
a convertible.
So I'm in the back of the convertible, and there's like palm trees, and the weather's so nice. And I'm like, I love this. It's already great. And she goes, calm down. We haven't left the airport yet. And now I realize where we were. I'm like by, the hotels
In Century City.
in Century, yeah, right.
Century Boulevard.
Century Boulevard,
rather.
right outside of LAX. And now I'm like, yeah, that's not the best part of Los Angeles. But it was just a perfect, like the sun was
Yeah.
just kind of setting, and it's just that moment.
It's intoxicating. No matter where you are in the city, it feels awesome. So
Yeah. So this song, I also realized there were a lot of songs in the 90s that were about this area. Malibu by Hole, Santa Monica by Everclear. All these songs that I loved were about this place I'd never been to.
Right.
But I could just picture it. And I think those songs still happen. In 2017, Miley Cyrus released her version, or her song called Malibu.
Next to you in Malibu. Next to you.
And that song kind of captures that feel of just when it's kind of sunset and a little golden and you're in Malibu. There's no place in the world like that.
hmm yeah, if you're fortunate enough to be able to see the sunsets here every day.
Yeah.
It's I'm not going to say it. It's that V word. I'm not going to
I know. I hate saying it.
I'm not gonna say
It's
it.
such an overused
Anyway,
word.
it is really beautiful, and you're right. That song kind of captures that. It's if you're an artist here, you can't help but at some point write something or make something that is inspired by that feeling you get when you're near the ocean. It's
Or even in the city, this last song I was going to play a clip of, and this is one of my favorite pop songs, period, in the last 5 years. And it's weird. It's Willow Smith. Willow
okay.
Smith and Tyler Cole had a duo called The Anxiety. Had a song, went viral on TikTok a few years ago, became a hit in 2021. Their song, Meet Me at Our Spot. Remember that song?
I do.
And it's there's one lyric in that song, and sometimes I'll just randomly it'll pop in my head because the 405, one of the major highways in LA, people call it the parking lot because usually if you're on it, you're just sitting there. It's so backed up. It's
It's
so crowded.
famous for two things: traffic and O.J. Simpson's chase.
O.J. Simpson's Chase. Yeah, the 405 is not a place you usually want to be. But this song, there's one line in this song where they talk about being on the 405, and it kind of captures, and the way they sing it, and the way they deliver it, it has this sort of melancholy, sad, but also optimistic and dreamy kind of feel to it. So this is this line from Meet Me at Our Spot about the 405.
Maybe we can hit the 405, hypnotized by the lights. Man, this must be the life.
I love it. Hypnotized by the lights. You can see the lights in the hills.
Hypnotized by the lights, man, this must be the life. It feels like that when you get here.
Yeah.
Like you don't even mind the traffic. You're like, this is so cool, man.
And then once you get jaded and you hate all of it, you're like, ugh, this is the worst place in the world.
Avoid the
You'll
405
still
at
hit
all.
those moments sometimes.
Not on the 405.
No, but well, now I do. Sometimes if I'm listening to this song, but I'm never on the 405 because we get to work so early. It's
Right.
not bad traffic when I get.
I avoid it. I spent a lot of time. I've spent years of my life on the 405, and have yet to be hypnotized by it.
Not by the 405, by the lights around you, because
Sure.
you have time to look at them because you're not going anywhere.
'Cause
You're
not
just
going
sitting
anywhere.
there.
Yeah,
This
But,
must be the life.
but it's part of it. It's all part of it, and it is famous. But my mom actually knows what the 405 is. And
Yeah.
she lives in New York.
And yeah, my mom does, and she knows to put the in front of it because we put the in front of all the highways here, which then is weird when you go back. The major highway in my hometown in West Virginia is 460,
Mhm.
and I caught myself one time saying the 460. I'm like, what am I saying?
And they don't say that.
And
Right.
it sounded stupid to
460,
me.
right.
Now this sounds ludicrous.
Yeah.
But if I said highway or I-405 or something, that would make no sense.
No, nobody says that.
No.
Just some of the things we love about Los
Yeah,
Angeles.
the traffic.
And it's the traffic.
We love the traffic.
It's not that, but yes, it is. It's awful.
It's one of those things, we will talk crap on it, but we don't want anybody else to.
It's
And that's true everywhere. That is true. And
There's
I will make
another
fun of West Virginia, but don't you even think about disrespecting it in my presence.
Tupac has another LA song that I love. We're not going to mention it just because the title isn't really appropriate right
Yeah.
now. But there is a line in
I
there
know.
about, listen, we'll fight amongst ourselves, but if you say anything,
Even
it's going to be a problem.
Kendrick's new album, GNX, there's a song called Dodger Blue. And he's
Yeah.
like, don't talk about LA if you've never been west of like the 10. Like, if you're not from here, don't talk about it.
I
And-
felt that.
Yeah.
I felt that when I went to the World Series this year
Oh.
and, as a Yankees fan, and sitting there when Ice Cube came out to perform, I was like, "Oh man, we're done. We're done, man." As soon as Ice Cube came out, I turned to my friend. I was like, "No, I'm gonna win this game."
Yeah, you got to let them have it.
Great things that we love about LA.
A lot of things we
and-
love about LA.
and it's all those things are not going to go away. It's going to be some tough sledding here for a while to rebuild, but I have all the confidence in the world that we will, and people are coming together. If you can, please donate to the American Red Cross or whatever organization you feel most comfortable.
Well, you should anyway. There's still, just in the last few months, North Carolina's been hit by hurricanes, and Florida has. There's so many places that still need help.
Yeah.
So if you can, give.
Yes, absolutely. And that is going to do it for us. We love you, LA. Randy Newman, sorry we didn't play your song, but we talked about it.
We did.
And we'll see you next time on Get to the